Hello, and welcome to our team's Advanced Manufacturing Lab final video journal. This is us. This video will serve to go over the efforts of our team in exploring the use of a robotic arm over 3 labs and a final procedure in a broader context of automated manufacturing. In automated manufacturing, robot arms and other intelligent hardware can be used to machine, package, and interact with objects without the need for human intervention.
Our team developed code and our understanding of the workings of a robotic arm to serve the final purpose of autonomously solving a puzzle for children. The robot would recognize letters of a certain color. The robot would then hand the correct letters off to a receiving robot arm, and then have the receiving arm place the pieces correctly into their slots.
In the first lab, our team used MATLAB to explore the use of both forward and inverse kinematics on a simulated robot arm. The team first built the robot arm using code. Using trigonometry, the team explored the use of forward kinematics to dictate the positioning of the robot arm along a trajectory. Using inverse kinematics, the team tracked the positioning of the robot along the same trajectory with different results for each robot arm segment. Nonetheless, both forward and inverse kinematics allowed our team to code the robot and positioning its end effector in the appropriate positions.
In industry, robotic arms are controlled using both forward and inverse kinematics. This is used in order to dictate the robot arm's positioning. In forward kinematics, the robot arm's position is determined by the orthogonal coordinates of each of the robot's joints. Inverse kinematics is trickier and involves utilizing the angles of the robot's arm segments to determine the orthogonal position of the robot in space.
In the second lab, our team worked with a physical robot arm called a Dobot magician and explored its functionalities. The team first explored the coding software for the Dobot, which would utilize simple drag and drop blocks with connective arrows to dictate the logical flow of the code. The team used this code to move the robot from different positions using movement point commands. Following the exploration of the robot's basic movements, the team looked to see how the Dobot could utilize different end effectors for different tasks. We first explored the use of the suction cup end effector, which utilize suction to pick up objects. The code would have to dictate when the robot begins suction to first pick up an object, and then the code would have to dictate when to disengage the suction to drop an object. The team explored the suction end effector by picking up a block and then dropping it in another location. Next, the team used a gripper end effector to pick up blocks. Unlike the suction cup, the gripper requires for the careful coding of the robot, so as to position the gripper in the optimal gripping position. Having explored both the suction cup and gripper end effectors in their basic functionalities, the team looked to coding the robot to complete a specific task. The task, similar to real-world automated manufacturing procedures, utilize a conveyor belt. We would place a series of blocks on the conveyor belt, coding an IR sensor. The conveyor belt would move and stop once the block reaches the front of the IR sensor. Once the conveyor belt stopped, the team will use a suction cup end effector to pick up the block and move it from the conveyor belt. Once the block was removed from the conveyor belt would move to position the following block for removal. This process will be repeated until all the blocks were removed from the conveyor belt.
The team would then use image recognition to identify the position of the objects for the robot to interact with. We did this by first setting up a template to identify Nittany Lion shields in the Dobot's workspace. Our Dobot could identify the positioning of multiple Nittany Lion shields no matter their layout and orientation. Extending this concept of image recognition, our team generated a message and encoded the message within a QR code. We used the Dobot to read this QR code and output the encoded message.
In the third lab, the team looked to further extend our understanding of the Dobot by exploring the use of a sliding rail to move the robot arm in one dimension, robot-robot interaction, calibration, and further vision-guided robotics. The team first coded the sliding rail to position our robot. The sliding rail utilized a runtime to designate the positioning of the robot. Our team explored the use of appropriate program times to position the robot in desired positions. Following this, the team used 2 robots on parallel sliding rails. One of the robots was designated as a sender. The second robot was designated as a receiver. Using a breadboard, the team set up communications between the 2 robots with an LED indicator to let us know when a send command was successfully picked up by the receiving robot. The team first explored this functionality in a basic sense. The sending robot moved an amount down the sliding rail, and once in position, a command was sent to the second robot to move to its own position. Extending this, the team used a sending robot to pick up and place a block down at a position along the sliding rail. Once placed, a command would be sent to the receiving robot to pick up the block and place it in a new position. After successfully developing robot-robot communication, our team explored the use of image calibration using a pen end effector to calibrate the robot for effectively seeing and interacting with objects within its workspace. Following the calibration process, our team used our robot to identify a certain color of block among an assortment of different colors using color extraction, image morphing, and blobs. Using the aforementioned, we could have the robot determine the positioning of a specific object using colors to filter to the desired object. Knowing the desired objects, we could set up our robot to interact with these objects autonomously without the manual input of an object's position. Our team then explored the use of the robot's feature matching to determine the geometry of objects rather than color. Using feature matching, our team was able to determine the positioning of a rectangular block, pick up the block, and then adjust the positioning and orientation of the end effector to insert the block into an appropriate slot.
Having explored the various functionalities of the Dobot in movement, end effectors, robot-to-robot communication, color, and feature extractions, our team looked to using 2 robots to solve a letter puzzle. We first set up the mechanisms of the sending robot. In our workspace, we placed different letter blocks of a set color. The team developed code to recognize the appropriate colors of the block using color and blob recognition. Having identified the appropriate blocks for solving the puzzle, the team coded the robot to pick up the blocks using the suction cup and place them within a receiving robot's workspace. Once this task was completed, the second robot would utilize the feature matching to pick up each piece and orient the piece for insertion into the appropriate slots of the puzzle. Our workflow for this procedure involved using the sender robot to identify all appropriate pieces of the puzzle from its workspace and then place the pieces into the receiver robot's workspace. Once all the pieces were identified and moved, a signal would be sent to the receiver robot to pick up each puzzle piece and place them into the correct positions of the puzzle. Our team successfully completed 2 letter puzzles, the pig puzzle and the fish puzzle, as can be seen here. Overall, the goal of the lab was completed, and we successfully were able to code and operate robot arms and understand how they assist with automated advanced manufacturing.